A very good morning to everyone. And it's indeed a bright, sunny morning, which is bringing in lots of positivity from all the speakers who are there on the panel for the International Marketing Conclave by SSB Ansal University. I, Dr. Pooja, would take the privilege of being the moderator for the entire panel session, along with my colleagues from campus. Thanks for joining for this conclave. This conclave has been organized by SSB Ansal University. The convener of the conclave is Dr. Gunjan A. Rana, and the co-conveners are Dr. Atul, Dr. Naveen, Professor Suman, and myself, Dr. Pooja. The rules of marketing are totally different now. The moment the lockdown is unleashed and the customers come back to shopping, I think the rules of shopping will be totally different. All the sectors have been impacted by this pandemic, be it FMCG, consumer durables, electronics, retail, entertainment, restaurants. There is no sector which is untouched from this crisis. But then as managers, I think each one of us have to learn to understand this dynamic environment, to exist in this VUCA world, and to make strategies that make us more sustainable. The sales of Amul have dropped down as the secondary usage has stopped from parlors, ice cream stores, etc. Flights have gone down drastically by 70% globally. Mr. Prem Garg, chairman of Lal Mahal rice brand, he says that India has lost exports for 4 to 5 times in this times of pandemic. E-commerce brands are getting a bit of benefit from this situation as we are talking about contactless deliveries. Even companies have tied up with brands like Swiggy, Uber to just deliver things properly at the right time as the supply chains are just destroyed by this pandemic. Reckitt Benckiser, who is a leading company into hygiene and health, because nowadays the only thing that we think of is health and hygiene. So their brands like Lysol and Dettol, they have seen a surge in sales by 0.8%, touching 12.8 billion increase in sales. So all this, I think, are facts that as readers we see. So as viewers, we read these in newspapers and magazines, and we just look at that how the companies would take it on. But I think the best people who can explain these are practitioners who have a vast experience of handling these brands in various sectors. So on that note, I think the next 1.5 hours would be really interesting for each one of us joining, because we have panelists from different sectors bringing in different paradigms of this pandemic. And on this, I would like to invite Dr. J.N. Giri, Dean SSB, to welcome the experts to the conclave on behalf of Sushant School of Business, Ansal University.
Thank you, Dr. Pooja. Good morning, everyone present here. Distinguished speakers, Ms. Mrinalini, Mr. Arnab, Mr. Amit, Mr. Saurabh, Mr. Atul, all other guests, faculty members, and students present in the audience. I welcome you all in this International Marketing Conclave. It is indeed a pleasure today that you all have gifted us your precious time and have graced this conclave through your benign presence. Dear friends, everyone talks today about this notorious coronavirus. Everyone looks at this COVID-19 through different perspective. And why not? It has impacted every walk of our lives in a way or other. It has altogether influenced the way we live, the way we interact, and the way we talk to each other, and also the way we behave even with our family members. It has radically influenced every aspect of business also. It has altogether changed the traditional ways of doing business. Friends, we all have gathered here to discuss the insights of impact on brands during COVID-19. I believe that marketing is a kind of domain which is there with us 24/7. We all are consumers and we use the products when we are awake and even when we are deep asleep. on a branded bed with AC, cooler or fan on. In marketing arena, we consumers are known as unknown. It's very difficult to guess that what will click us and what, when and how we are going to behave with a product. Even in such a pandemic situation, we have come up with our never before kind of preferences for choosing a mask, sanitizers, or contactless food delivery at home. At one hand, COVID-19 has resulted in closure of many businesses, but on the other hand, it has also given birth to many new kind of businesses as well as diversification in existing businesses, where, for example, an automobile company starts manufacturing masks and ventilators. Friends, had this apada not been there, we would probably not have come up together like this to discuss and explore the possibilities to convert this apada into avasar. With this, once again, I welcome you all to this conclave. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think very well said, Apda into Afsar. And that is what the Prime Minister of the country also addressed, that it is a time where the Indian brands as well as brands all over the world have taken it as an opportunity. So not taking much time, I would like to call upon Professor Suman, who would kickstart this energetic international marketing conclave and invite all the experts from global brands to share their views. So over to you, Suman.
Thank you, Pooja ma'am. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Giri sir. I think both of you have set the tone for today's conclave. So recently, we all have seen a spurt in FMCG product sales because all consumers have started stocking up essentials. So even David Ogilvy once said that it's very hard to sell if it's not creative enough. But we have seen in these times that it's hard to sell if it is not essential. And this is one sector which everyone is using products, and so it will be very interesting to see so what are the impact of pandemic and these COVID-19 times on FMCG sector. So we have our first panelist, Miss Mrinalini Mankotia, who is a marketing professional with 16 years of experience in the FMCG industry. And she has a work philosophy of delivering results, building innovations that become new business pillars and communicating relevance in media dark as well as non-media dark categories. She follows a leadership philosophy based on respect, humility, and ambition of team and self. Currently, she is working as a head of category marketing, baby foods, Nestle Nutrition. So over to you, Miss Mrinalini. So let's hear your viewpoint on what is FMCG sector right now is going through.
All right. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much. Thank you to the Ansal University management for inviting me over here. Thanks for that. I really appreciate how you guys are trying to keep your digital learning very relevant. And I just overheard there were close to about 320 people on this conclave. So thank you guys. Thank you to the students actually for giving me your precious 10 minutes to actually listen to what I have to say. Just a quick thing. I do not any longer work in India. I have actually moved to Switzerland. I handle the ASEAN region for my company. I mean, we have 5 different markets. So I handle that region for Nestle in terms of the business. And what I'm going to speak to you today is basically my personal views. These are not the views of my company, and let's just take it from there. So sitting from where I'm sitting, doing the job that I'm doing, gives me insights into what is really happening globally in terms of what's happening in FMCG across categories, with consumers, with products, with brands. And I thought I will first kind of just highlight a few of these insights to you, and thereafter tell you about the actions that we can take to mitigate some of the challenges that we see. And now the actions that I speak of today are they going to deliver results? I don't know. No one knew COVID-19 is going to become a pandemic. Some of these actions only time will tell whether these will deliver results or not deliver results. So to start off with, we are in a new normal. We are never going to go back to the world that we have come from. There is an economic depression. The depression has honestly already started. Lots of people are losing jobs. For the students, this is a good time to study. This is a really bad time to be looking for a job. So within FMCG, there is a silver lining. The silver lining is that consumers have kind of gone back home, and home is really where FMCG sells. So there is that silver lining. Within FMCG, we have a lot of categories. So I'm just going to focus on food and beverage, which is F&B. This is the category where companies like Unilever, Nestle, Coke, Pepsi, GSK, Mondelez, etc. This is where all these companies play. So I just want to focus on that particular category. So what we see is a confirmation. The confirmation is that food is the new medicine. So when consumers are seeking immunity, when consumers are seeking health, the first place where they are going to is food. And we see big strategic shifts happening. And these strategic shifts are of affordability, of value seeking, of health and nutrition becoming more and more important. We see categories which were consumed out of home have shifted vastly in home. I'm sure many of you must have made the famous Dalgona coffee. We see consumers seeking safety and in big brands, in brands that they know of. We see shifts in retail. A massive migration of humanity is happening on online. So there are these big fundamental changes which are happening on brand communication, which are happening on brand building. So on FMCG and within FMCG on F&B, we can basically divide it into three categories, and that's what we see. There is the first category, what we call as the winning categories. These are categories which were doing well before COVID, and they are doing even better. So the tailwind of COVID is actually making them do even better. The second set of categories are categories which we call as the resilient categories. These are categories which were doing fairly well, good, before COVID, and are continuing to do that. And these are categories like childcare, pet care. So these categories are continuing to not get impacted by COVID. And then the last set of categories are the challenged categories. These are categories which were doing well before COVID and have now taken a massive hit. Here we have categories like snacking, CSDs, juices, out of home, waters, chocolates. So these are the categories. So you have in F&B three categories. The winning categories continue to do well. You have the categories which are resilient, who were okay and will remain okay. And you have the challenged categories which were doing very well but now not going to do well. So for the sake of the students who've come online, the actions that we need to take in this new normal or in this unprecedented way in which we need to do business, I've tried to kind of split it up by the 5 Ps that we have so that you can kind of remember what we have to say. So the actions that we need to take in COVID and what we are taking are firstly, say, on pricing. Pricing and how we handle pricing going forward has to be completely relooked into. The magical price points, which were based on currency denomination, are gone. Consumers are on e-wallets. So if your brand can command a value, it will get it. So there are changes, fundamental changes that are happening in the way we price our products. There is a crash in commodities. I mean, you know what's happening on oil, and the repercussions of the oil prices going down is happening across commodities. As a result of which, the raw material is really taking a dip. So we have raw materials going down So the raw materials that we seek for making products are going down. So you can actually pull value out of commodity and put it back into pricing and give it to the consumer. Then the other thing is that we see is there are challenges on forex. So the dollar, the CHF, some of these currencies are becoming very, very strong, and some of the currencies in Asia and in Africa are becoming very weak. Now, what does it do? What it does is that this impacts the global supply chain. So most of the products that are made today across categories and across the FMCG sector source raw materials globally. So when forex kind of goes down, takes a hit, then you need to go local. So more and more companies are and will be going forward looking at being more local rather than getting into the whole forex play. And then we have brand communication. So how do you communicate to consumers at this time? In brand communication, what we see is that you need to not communicate on emotion anymore. You need to communicate on function. And why do you need to communicate on functional benefits of your products is because what the consumers are doing is that in their basket, they have divided products into things which are essential and things which are not essential. And whatever is not essential is going down and whatever is essential is going up. And so you need to communicate to the consumers the relevance of your brand or of your products so that you can get into the essentials basket and they can keep on buying you. Then on brand communication is done through brand building, and brand building happens by the amount of money which is spent on brands across various channels. And here again, we see that there is a reallocation and a reprioritization that needs to be done on relevant channels. So you need to obviously go online, but it's not just about going online, but it's also going online relevantly. We see a huge reduction in costs on making films and productions. So earlier you would get a celebrity, a Bollywood celebrity, for example, but now the celebrities are not these big names. The celebrities are people who are KOLs in the digital sphere, the YouTubers. There is a lot of user-generated content, and you need to promote user-generated content. No one knew that it is the Dalgona coffee which is going to make the coffee business go, and not somebody else. And then on the innovation and renovation pipelines. So brands and businesses have innovation renovation pipelines. Obviously, these innovation renovations have got hit and got delayed, but they have to be reinvented to give to the consumer immunity, because that is what they are seeking, and not just well-being at a physical health level of immunity, but also well-being and mental health. So we see consumers wanting to seek both physical as well as mental health, which was not something earlier. And so earlier they would just want the superlative, they would want brain development and things like that. And then we have issues of managing supply and ensuring business continuity. Factory workers don't come, so more and more factories have to be automated, and the operations have to be relooked into. The inventory management has to be relooked into. So there is the entire operations revamp which is happening. I think that has been the biggest hit, more than brand communication. It has been the ops behind brands which has got really hit. Quality is becoming very important because testing is becoming democratized, and as testing becomes democratized, consumers really want to know what is the quality of the product that you're giving out to them. And then lastly, behind any good business is the structural cost. It is the cost of the people. So we have to get into leaner teams. We have to get into reallocating teams into places where you need them and not on the front end. So there is a massive reduction in structural cost that needs to be done. So that just kind of summarizes some of the top points in terms of the 5 Ps that you can apply to any business, to any category in the pre-post of what's going to happen to COVID. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I will hand over it back to Suman or to Pooja, one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Mrinalini, for enlightening us on how FMCG sector is actually important and what are these 5 Ps and how companies are basically targeting quality and on if they are marketing the product, so they need to market it that how it can increase the immunity of the product of the consumers, because in the food products, if consumers are buying, so that is the one thing that consumer these days is seeking. So you said about that communication, marketing communication specifically is based on function, not on the emotion. So that is what working these days. So to talk more on the same, on what kind of marketing strategy and what kind of these marketing communication are working for the products in these pandemic times, we have our next panelist, Mr. Arnab Ghosh, who is a former vice president at Godfrey Phillips India and senior marketing and strategy professional. He is a business leader with 21 years of experience of working with some of the best MNC organizations within the FMCG business. He has handled P&L responsibility, consumer marketing, strategic brand management, and business roles across various phases of his professional career. He has worked across categories like foods, food ingredients, soft beverages, spirits, and mouth fresheners, electronic cigarettes, and tobacco. Mr. Arnab has specific skill sets like understanding of distribution models, cost optimization, brand launches, portfolio optimization, consumer promotions, and leading teams. So over to you, Mr. Arnab.
The audience who've taken time out to listen to all of us. I wanted to kind of bring to the table certain perspectives which I think are going to be important in a post-COVID world. And I mean, as you know, it's a word which is yet to be defined. It is constantly defining itself with news items coming in every single day, how things are changing, how things are not, stable, static. So it's almost like saying that we are in a VUCA world. And let me just put together a couple of things to kind of give you a perspective about how this world is shaping up. So let me just open a presentation and kind of take you through the main points. Okay, that's not the first. So marketing in a COVID world. So COVID world essentially is a VUCA world. And a VUCA world by definition is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And what all of that leads to is a decrease of trust. People don't trust each other. People lose trust. People lose faith. They lose faith in human beings. They lose faith in systems, processes. At times, they're despondent. There is a lot of mental agony, psychological pressure that comes through in this kind of a world which is uncertain and ambiguous. And within this world, the most important thing is the need for constant reassurance. It is important that brands need to constantly reassure their consumers that they're making the right choice. And unless that reassurance comes in, constantly, and it comes in with a lot of transparency, consumers are going to possibly look for better alternatives. So one of the key things that I think brands should indulge in today is brands should communicate more frequently. There is nothing like communicating less today. There is so much to communicate. And it's not just about the brand message. It's not just about your positioning. It's about the various things that go into making your brand the way it is and what it stands for. It is about where you're sourcing your products. It's about how you're value adding to those products. It's about consumer safety. What kind of safety measures are you taking in your factories, in your distribution chains, in the way that you're bringing the products to the marketplace? All of this is relevant to the consumer. And customer experiences today need to have more human connections. Now, when I say that, one of the key things that I mean by this is that, even before COVID happened, and I happened to read a PwC report which said 59% of consumers worldwide believe that interactions with brands were becoming more impersonal. They wanted more empathy. And that was pre-COVID times. And this is post-COVID, when empathy and caring and the need to feel that somebody cares for you, somebody is thinking about your goodwill, is far more important than what it used to be earlier. So human connections are very important, and brands need to understand that this human connection needs to come in every form of customer experience, whether it's about how you train your people on your call centers, how you train your frontline managers to interact with people. There has to be far more empathy that needs to come in. Then, of course, being transparent and building trust. I think that is the cornerstone today on which businesses will be built or destroyed. Consumers are going to choose businesses and brands based on whether they are sufficiently transparent, whether they show the kind of empathy that is required, and whether they're willing to go along with the consumer, meet the consumer more than halfway, as they have been doing in the past. So that is very vital, building trust. So that's the first part of it. What brands need to do differently, disruptively in a post-COVID world. The next thing let me talk about is opportunities. Now, what are the opportunities that are coming through? And mind you, this is not a laundry list. I mean, there will be plenty more that will come through. I'm sure a lot of changes are happening just as we speak. And therefore, it is imperative for us to be constantly on the lookout for what changes are happening in the consumer space day in and day out, whether it is through ethnographic studies, whether it is through understanding social media posts and how consumers are reacting to various things around them. It is a situation of constant discovery for marketers. But having said so, some of the opportunities that have revealed themselves is that in a VUCA world, I think big brands will become bigger. And the reason why I say that is because, big brands, large brands have built that element of trust that I spoke about in the last part of my this thing. So it is important that in a space where consumers are feeling slightly fragile, they're going to kind of move into trusting brands which they have trusted in the past, which are tried, and which they know have stood by them in the past. So essentially, big brands are going to become bigger. That's what I feel. There will be an increase in health and hygiene categories. And that goes without saying. We've seen the hand sanitizer category going from literally nothing to where it is today. It's possibly one of the fastest growing categories in the health and hygiene space, in the FMCG space in total. So that's going to be another major change. And I think a lot more innovations are going to come in the health and hygiene category. Commodities are likely to be branded. Now, we've had atta and we've had rice and we've had a bit of pulses and all of that getting branded. But I think coming back again to the question of trust, consumers are going to trust commodities which are branded. And branded commodities will have a far greater basket of offerings than what we see today. It's not going to be just limited to atta and rice and pulses and spices. Everything possibly that we use in our day-to-day life, all our staples are going to get branded. So that's going to be a big change that I see going forward. I also see an increase in do-it-yourself categories. Just as you've had IKEA in the past making a totally different category out of furniture. I think do-it-yourself categories are going to become seriously important going forward. And you see, all of us, if you see the way things are moving, all of us have become, in a way, master chefs. We are uploading pictures of the cakes that we have baked, the dishes that we've cooked. Instagram is full of it. Men, women, children, all of them are baking, making things, sharing photographs. So all of that is becoming critical. It's a process of coming together as a family. It's a process of discovering new skill sets. So do-it-yourself category in the foods business, I think, is going to take a quantum leap. And when I say that, I include things like ready-mix products, which are going to explode, I think. Packaged ingredients, ready to cook. So you will have things which are, gourmet dishes, which are going to be coming to you in a package, and you can just open it, read the instructions, cook it. There'll be off-the-shelf pastes that will come in. So all the ginger paste and the garlic paste and the lasoon paste and all of that we've been making in our kitchens, our mothers and our wives and our maids have been making in the kitchens, all of that will, be available off the shelves. So a lot of categories essentially will come in, which are categories which were nascent or which are non-existent. And these categories are going to fuel this entire surge that we have of making stuff in the kitchens. And also because of the fact that eating out and dining out is going to be extremely rare. And on top of that, you will have the 50+ generation possibly refusing to step out into open spaces, or at least spaces which are crowded spaces. So you will have the family which used to go out for dinner or lunch. That family going out for dinner and lunch is not going to happen so frequently or so easily. And therefore, making things within the four confines of the house is going to become far more significant. Now, having said so, and I mentioned at the beginning that, big brands are going to get bigger. Now, does that mean that small brands, new brands, they have nothing to look forward to? Not really. I think COVID has actually created an atmosphere for small brands to really explore new opportunities of growth. And that's because of the digital explosion that has happened. Now, if I remember the figures that I had read a few weeks back, possibly, I think India today has about 630 million people connected to the internet, of which about 200 million people are in rural India. And that has grown at the pace of 35%. The growth of internet connectivity in urban India has grown at 7%. And I think these figures come from Cantor Media, so I think we can kind of trust these numbers. So whatever these numbers are, but what it directionally tells us is that rural India is adopting digital in a far more significant way than it had in the past. And this adoption is not just limited to things like entertainment and news. And mind you, entertainment and news through the mobile medium has been literally the mainstay in rural India, given the fact that you have long periods of power cuts in rural India. But today, the adoption is beyond that. It is e-commerce, and not just e-commerce to buy a pair of jeans or a pair of t-shirts, but it's e-commerce for staples. It's e-commerce for necessities. And therefore, this brings in a huge opportunity for small brands. And what small brands can do in such a situation is the emergence of new digital media. What small brands can essentially do is go niche. And when I say go niche, what I mean is that you don't need to compete with the big fish. You don't need to compete on a pan-India basis. Go hyper-local, go local. Find flavors, food items, necessities, discretionary items also, which are relevant to small pockets, niche pockets in the country, and cater to them. These are not going to be relevant to large players because the sizes might not be so relevant. The scale might not come in. But for smaller players, this can be a potent field of play. And therefore, smaller brands, with the emergence of digital and with the emergence of payment systems which are getting adopted, this is where they're going to find a lot of impetus going forward. The other segment that I see benefiting from the explosion of digital and payment system is the 50+ generation. This generation earlier used to be reticent about using online mediums. They were not very comfortable with making digital payments. They were not very comfortable ordering on the e-commerce platforms. Today, that is changing. So this huge 50+ generation, which is there in urban areas, in semi-urban areas, is a potential space for new products and new brands to get launched. And that's, again, another serious opportunity. The third thing that I wanted to talk about is media. And that's undergoing a significant change also. I see a second coming for television. And I see that because, when you are not getting out of your house so frequently, television becomes the glue that binds people together. And we've seen this with the retelecast of the Ramayana. The kind of TRPs that it has generated is mind-boggling. Nobody had ever thought that this would come again for a serial which was done sometime, I guess, in the mid-80s or the early 90s. Huge. So television, I think, is poised for a second coming. And FMCG brands which can use this effectively, which can use the medium effectively with messaging that is tailored to understanding consumers' needs and perceptions, they will find this to be an interesting play. Does print go digital? Big question. I really don't know. This has been debated about in the past. When Kindle had come in sometime in 2011-12, this was something that had come through. But that was on a usage perspective. But this today is based on the fact that there is going to be a lot of apprehension about touching things. People are not going to be comfortable taking up the newspaper in the morning because they don't know how many hands it has passed through. So therefore, there could be a reticence in terms of subscribing to a newspaper in the format that we've been used to, in the physical format that we've been used to. Possibly, print can go digital in a big way. Audio branding. I think personally that this is going to be a likely disruption. And why so? Simply because, with so much of screen time that we're spending, that we're using up, there is a lot of screen fatigue that is coming in. And we are constantly glued to our screens, whether it's a laptop, doing our Zoom meetings, doing our Microsoft Team meetings, whether it is working on the computer, whether it is checking social media. Our usage of the screen has become significantly higher than in pre-COVID times. And therefore, we need a break from the screen. And audio branding possibly is going to be a likely disruptor. And audio branding could include jingles, it could include content on audio, it could include ambient sounds which remind you of a brand, neuromarketing which involves audio branding. A lot of stuff could happen around audio branding. Experiential marketing likely to face its biggest challenge. And I think brands which use experiential branding and marketing in a big way, especially in the space of alcobev, in the space of say products which use experiences to kind of bring the brand message alive, they'll have to rethink the entire score in terms of how they're going to be using experiential branding in a situation where you will not have people coming in and taking part in an event or in a fashion show or in a live kind of a situation. How are you going to bring that whole experience to the drawing rooms? That's going to be a big, big challenge. Luxury brands, huge challenge for luxury brands. And if I remember what I read a few days back, I think Star TV is working on a model which they think is going to be able to replicate to a large extent for the viewer on television the excitement of watching a cricket match in a stadium. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they seem to be very serious about it, and they seem to have a solution which they think might be working. Even if cricket matches today get played in empty stadiums. So that's going to be a big disruption if it manages to come through. On a similar note, virtual reality and augmented reality can see increased salience. Now, these are nothing new. It's not that virtual reality has never been tried. It's not that augmented reality has never been tried. But it's not really caught on in the way that we thought it would. It's not been the game changer that we thought it would be. So the challenge today lies in how to make this into a communal experience. You know, wearing a HoloLens and watching something is one, it's almost a solo experience. You cannot have 10 members of the family sitting together with HoloLenses, you know, trying to capture the same excitement. You know, it's not possible. It just doesn't work that way, the way it works on television, possibly. So how do you make a live experience experiential? Big challenge, but I'm sure there will be work that will happen in this space. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is how is it that new categories which will come through are going to benefit out of this post-COVID scenario. Now, I've spoken about a lot of it in the past, but you know, the key thing that I think we need to all do, and as marketeers, what we need to kind of follow very strictly, is the fact that we need to be constantly on the lookout for new things that are evolving. It's going to be a space which is constantly going to be in the churn. And therefore, for us, it is going to be a constant effort to figure out what's the next big thing that's going to catch on. And it's not always the next big thing needs to be the next Snapchat or the next you know, TikTok. That's not the next big thing I'm talking about. It's the next big trend, which is yet to evolve, which is still simmering underneath the surface. And how does that impact consumer experiences going forward? Thank you. That's all that I had to present, and I hope that it's been of some help. So over to you, Suman.
Thank you, Mr. Arnab. Thank you for giving insights into this VUCA world. This is truly a VUCA world. And you said that human connection is going to be very, very important. And we all are waiting to see that what kind of new category of products or new category of platforms that are going to come up after this particular period is over, or maybe during this period only. Now, the one important sector that has seen the most hit is the retail sector, and how the things are going to bounce back, or these days the last thing we can see, think of even after lockdown period is over is visiting a mall, or maybe visiting a restaurant, or maybe going to a cinema hall before watching a movie. So these are the last thing that we can think of. You know, even for many months after this period will be over, so we'll be very, very cautious. So how this particular sector has been hit, and what are the strategies that this particular sector is coming up with to revive itself, to bounce back. So we have our next panelist, Mr. Amit Phull, to talk on retail sector during COVID-19 period and how the retail sector is actually thinking of bounce back. So I would like to take the opportunity to introduce Mr. Phull. So Mr. Amit Phull is a Chief Marketing Officer and Head Admissions at Ansal University. He has over 16 years of diverse experience in marketing and finance roles across industries like education, retail, steel, and energy, as well as financial services with companies like Decathlon India, Ansal API, Merrill Lynch, and Citibank, etc. Over to you, Mr. Amit.
Thank you, Dr. Suman. I'm really happy to be on this platform with all the co-panelists and share some views, especially on the retail sector where I've had some prior experience. You know, we know that the retail sector, especially in India, you know, it's a vast sector with the presence of organized as well as unorganized platforms. And as a result, you know, we do feel that it is going to see a paradigm shift in the way business models are going to run, not only for the brands, but also also for the landlords, for the mall owners. And we'll definitely see a lot more changes happening in this particular sector. Just to give an insight, only about 7 to 8% of the modern retail trade is functioning at the moment. And post the announcement of the lockdown, sale of essential items alone is permitted. So it is obvious that, if only about 8% of the industry is functioning, it will take a long time to bounce back from the losses. And just to share some more stats, which are not looking too good in the short run. These are the stats that have come from a recent survey from the Retail Association of India. It says that about 20 to 25% of the industry players may need fresh fund infusion to stay afloat. And about 25% of the jobs in the retail sector is likely to get impacted. And, these are the times which will be a testing time, especially in the short run. And for a long time after the lockdown is lifted, the consumers will be in a reactive mode and they will buy only what is needed, as a couple of my other co-panelists already shared. And after all this reactive mode is over, we will have the recovery mode as well. And many of the experts in this industry, they feel that this industry may take at least 9 to 12 months to recover from the aftermath of the coronavirus pandemic. And brands like personal care, home care, and even F&B to an extent, I think they will be faster to bounce back. Fashion, furniture, streams like electronics and appliances are expected to recover slowly as consumers will look at postponing their spends on discretionary products in the near term. Food, as I said, it could look at a faster bounce back. It is the new anchor these days in the malls. About 30 to 40% of the mall space is occupied by food brands, and especially backed by a lot of food delivery apps. This sector may likely have a better recovery and a faster recovery. On the other hand, I also feel that brand loyalty will diminish as consumers trade down, and consumer loyalty towards a particular brand may go down as they opt for local and cheaper options. And all this will lead to, also the growth of the unorganized retail sector and the local kirana stores, which have now become so resilient, and they'll be paving the way for retailing to become even more localized going forward. And, so to basically summarize what I just said, there will be few trends that will emerge after this pandemic, and this will be increased focus on health and well-being, higher demand for value brands, and accelerated adoption of online channels. Keeping these trends and behavioral changes in mind, retailers will need to reevaluate the store portfolio. I feel they'll reevaluate how much is the stock that is required on a regular basis. They will invest in service experiences, and of course the whole aspect of omni-channel to serve the new consumers will actually take a new light altogether. They look at new payment methods as well. Most importantly, also managing their costs through operational and improvement measures, which will be there. So a lot of things which will emerge, which the other co-panelist, Mr. Ghosh, also highlighted the emergence of virtual reality, for example, in retail, as well as artificial intelligence. These two will make the customer experience go through a different high altogether. To share an example of Amazon Go, I think although it is started in US, I think sooner or later, once the recovery mode is there, that model of having customer experience and customer convenience at the forefront will be much more exemplified here in India also going forward, where there'll be no queues, no touch experiences, for example, using virtual reality. And having the whole customer convenience at the forefront will be the talking point going forward. And at the end of it, I think once the recovery mode starts, a right communication strategy has to be in place from all the retailers. Be it in terms of communicating about how safe is their destination to visit, how compliant are they with the necessary norms of hygiene as well as safety. All that has to be communicated on a regular basis with the clients through various channels. And I also feel, the way human spirit also comes out during this time. There could be a negative aspect. People will feel that humans have this tendency to not learn from the past mistakes, and we forget very easily what we did wrong, and as a result there is every possibility that we will all suffer again in future. But there is also a positive scenario wherein because we forget easily and we have that spirit of being fearless, we move ahead in life on the lookout for a better future. And as a result, I think we shall all settle back into a new normal soon, and the retail industry per se will always come back in the forefront after probably 9 to 12 months of reactive mode, and we'll find our ways to do business as usual, but of course albeit with slight modifications in our approach. So I'll keep it short and crisp, and I'll let my other co-panelists also to give their views on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phull. Thank you for giving insights that yes, omni-channel is the way ahead, and customer convenience is the one where all brands need to give them while shopping, that every customer is looking for convenience these days. And when we are talking about convenience, so online shopping or e-commerce comes to the mind. So as social distancing became new normal or new norm of our life and our lifestyle, so every customer, especially in cities, urban areas, opted for online shopping. So whether is it that consumer is actually looking for that not going out and they are being cautious in buying everything, or what kind of consumer behavior is changing, so that's why they are opting for e-commerce. So just to give insight on what is the mixed impact on e-commerce in these pandemic times, we have our next panelist, Mr. Saurabh Dayal. Saurabh Dayal, he is a co-founder of cleardekho.com, again an e-commerce platform, which is India's first online optical marketplace and largest budget optical retail chain. He has 8+ years of experience in sales, technology, and e-commerce experience, and at Paytm, Wipro, and HCL. Mr. Dayal is a hardcore salesperson at heart. He's leading the entire business, including franchise expansion, e-commerce, retail operations, and technology for cleardekho.com. So over to you, Mr. Dayal.
Thanks, Dr. Suman. First of all, it's great to be amongst eminent panelists, and I thank Dr. Pooja for having me here. These are unprecedented times, as we all know, and every speaker in the webinar has been saying this, and something of this has never happened before, and we as family owners, as business owners, as individuals, we are finding out the best way to come out of this situation and handle this situation in the most effective manner. I would just like to add on to what Mr. Amit, my previous speaker, he spoke on retail, because I represent ClearDekho. I founded ClearDekho around 3.5 years back, and we are an omni-channel platform in the budget eyewear space, which means हम 500 रुपए में चश्मा बना के देते हैं, both in the online space as well as in the retail space. We have 55+ outlets in northern part of India, and so we are trying to bridge the gap between the demand and the supply gap in the budget eyewear space. Now, I would like to touch upon few more points on the retail, which Mr. Amit very well said. But how retail would change, I would typically talk about organized retail, because I represent that. So we would see a lot of contactless shopping. When I say contactless shopping, there could be contactless checkouts happening at organized retail. There is already something happening at McDonald's in Europe. They are testing contactless systems, and everywhere, mostly in outside India, there is already a lot of contactless checkout and the contactless payout system. So these two things we can expect happening in India. The next point is, we would not see a lot of window shoppers in India. अभी क्या होता है कि हम संडे को फ्री हैं, so we all of us with our family, we go out to malls and we go out to retail markets just to pass our time. this would not happen. There will be serious bias because people would obviously restrict because of obvious reasons. They will restrict their stay outside. So jo bhi dukaan mein ghus raha hai, he is a serious buyer. So it is very important for all brands to consider it very seriously and try to increase their conversion. Next, जो rental model India में चल रहा है, there not have been a lot of innovation in that. Simple fixed rental model चल रहा है. I foresee a lot of innovative rental models coming up. Maybe profit sharing or profit sharing plus some variable plus fixed cost. Something of that sort I really see. Next, I see a lot of cloud retail happening. For example, if somebody wants to start since I sell franchisee business in India, so a lot of investors might want to start a restaurant. But kyunki we would not see a lot of footfall in these retail outlets, they might consider a cloud kitchen option. They just open a cloud kitchen and then the deliveries is dependent on Zomato and Swiggy of the world. And obviously O2O we are seeing, as many of the panelists have already mentioned, omni-channel platforms. So we would see offline to online shift. And I also see a lot of retail organizations starting deliveries to give a more customized and personalized experience. Just because one more point I would like to mention here, I'll take the liberty to just take 2 more minutes for this. Since I come from Delhi, so Delhi ka jo wholesale market hai, there are few wholesale markets like Sadar Bazaar, Chandni Chowk, Gafar Market, Nehru Place, which are known for low cost item, electronic items, computer accessories. This will be tremendously hit by because they were hugely dependent on China imports. So they would be hugely hit. Now coming back to the e-commerce, which is the topic for me for today, just to give a rough statistics, e-commerce is a $250 billion USD market in India right now. And obviously the major players are Flipkart, Snapdeal, Paytm, Amazon, Swiggy, Zomato. All these are big players who are contributing over 50% of the revenue for this. Now I'll just give you an eye opener. Just imagine couple of months back, Flipkart, one of the biggest players of e-commerce in India, would be doing 25 lakh transactions a day. And if I multiply it with an average transaction value of, let's say, 1,000 rupees, we are talking about 250 CR of daily business. So this is how hard Corona has hit all of us. It is an opportunity loss or a business loss of 250 CR per day. And I'm only talking about Flipkart. You add Amazon's and Paytm and Snapdeal, the number, I don't want to even tell. We can't even count the number of zeros in the losses what we are making. So this is how hard Corona has hit all of us. Now, what I foresee, because I run an e-commerce startup myself, I foresee few things in the e-commerce space. One is diversification in the essential product category segment. So we have already, I heard a news that Zomato has started delivering groceries. I have heard groceries companies have started delivering pharma and medicines. Medicines have started delivering groceries. So everybody is trying to diversify in the essential product category segment. So diversification is one, which is the need of the hour. Second, O2O, as I already mentioned, people are shifting from offline to online. So a lot of retailers would either start their own website or they would start themselves listing in Amazon and Flipkart. So we would see a surge in the number of sellers in India. Next, a lot of e-commerce companies had outsourced deliveries. However, what I see, it will be a combination of building their in-house capabilities and also outsourcing. So abhi kya hota hai ki Flipkart or Snapdeal or Swiggy, Zomato, everybody is outsourcing. But I strongly feel ki now they will think about having their in-house capabilities, because the delivery lead time will increase. Number one, the cost of delivery will also increase, because demand of delivery is ever increasing at these times. So they would start considering in-house capabilities in the delivery segment. Next, because the focus is on safety, hygiene, sanitization, mask, all these things. So जो cost है वो increase होने वाला है for all these e-commerce organization, or for the matter of fact any organization. So the margin will drastically reduce for e-commerce companies. As it is a fiercely competitive market. So cutthroat competition वैसे भी रहता है. 50% cashback देता है तो somebody else has to give a 60% cashback, else नहीं होगा, because India is a highly price sensitive market. Customer loyalty nahi hai, customer acquisition cost is very high. So so the point is the margins will drastically reduce. Next point, I see that there will be a lot of collaboration rather than competition. So as I already mentioned, grocery company might collaborate with pharma companies. So इस time पे लोग competition नहीं देखेंगे. I don't think Big Basket would be competing with Grofers at the moment. I think it is more of collaboration, which all of us see as the bigger picture in the longer run. Next, the customer acquisition cost for essential product category will reduce, because obviously new customer acquisition hoga, people will start buying online. Zyada bottlenecks hai nahi. People who were resilient earlier, they will be more prone to buy. So number one, there will be a lot of new customer acquisition, as Mr. Ghosh also mentioned, 50 plus category segment. I think it's a very valid point. Ye wala segment is huge in India, and that will also start shopping online. And so that is that the customer acquisition cost for essential product category will reduce, whereas the customer acquisition cost or CAC will increase for non-essential product category. Because इस time पे मुझे कपड़े नहीं लेने, I don't want to buy 5 pair of jeans at the moment, I don't want to buy 5 pair of t-shirts at the moment, rather I would buy 5 kg of rice. So the customer acquisition cost in the apparel and the fashion space will increase in the e-commerce segment. Now I think the last point is the brands have to focus on supply chain, because there is unprecedented demands in the at least in the essential product category segment. I was just trying to shop on Grofers and Big Basket, I think a couple of weeks back, and they said that I'm sorry, the website is down, we are not able to supply in your region, or the server is down, because obviously there is surge in demand and they are not able to cope up. So I think the winner would be the one who would be able to sort out their supply chain and ensure there is enough stock in their warehouse. Because अगर आपके पास stock ही नहीं है, because demand ever increasing hai. So you have to ensure your backend is sorted, else you will not be able to survive in this market. Now lastly, I would end my session by saying कि we should replace fear with faith and hope. I was listening to Vani Kola a week back, and I saw her video, and very well, beautiful line she said, that we should replace fear with faith and hope. I think there will be a new dawn tomorrow. So I think all of us are together in this as businesses, and we'll see the bright future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dayal. Yes, we all are hopeful in this pandemic times, and we all are hopeful that everything is going to be normal. So you said that in e-commerce, so specifically we are seeing these days that some of the e-commerce companies have even started taking hygiene cost from the customers itself when they are delivering. So they are adding that particular in whatever they are delivering, so that again consumer is cautious when they are buying the things, because they are changing many hands during the delivery times. So we will see disruption in the delivery system. Now we have talked about disruption, all the panelists have talked about disruption in many of the business operations, in e-commerce, in retail, in FMCG sector. So what will this disruption lead to? So there is a constant struggle these days to circulate correct information, to roll out good quality products, services during this particular crisis time. And so this particular challenge is again bringing together a blend of product design, experience design, and service design, so that are desperate for a solution. And in this particular desperate time, there is one thing that can help, which is design thinking. So what is the role of design thinking in the way ahead, and how it is going to help in these COVID-19 times? So to talk on the same, we have our next panelist. So let's welcome Mr. Atul Sharma, who is an engineer turned behavioral master facilitator turned and trainer and founder Oasis of Learning. If there would have been a contest for passionate facilitators, speakers, and instructional designers, then I think he would have been one of the top 10 finalists. He discovered his passion for training by a chance in the year 1997. He started his career as an AutoCAD engineer and trainer. Over the years, he kept on increasing his knowledge and skills via different courses and certifications. He has worked in many organizations like Oracle BPO, Aegis Limited, Accenture, NIIT, Jaguar, and many more. Over to you, Mr. Atul.
Your mic.
Yeah, thank you, Suman. Thank you so much for making me the showstopper for today. And I'm so excited to be here. I just want to add one thing you gave me, that I've changed 37 jobs in my whole career, and I'm 43. Okay. And now I run my own consulting firm, and we are into design innovation. So a question to all of you. I think we have 156 people. How's my haircut? Is it decent? Okay, I see everybody smiling. The reason I'm sharing this with you is because 3 weeks back, I got a video from my barber. His name is Mustafa. He sent 3 videos to all of us: how to cut your own hair, how to cut the hair of your spouse if he's male, and how to cut the hair of your wife if she has long hair. And believe me, it was amazing. It really helped me. Okay, I was thinking ki cap pehen lu, kuch kar lu, but after that video, I'm like looking decent. Now, what Mustafa did, he used design thinking principle, and after that, a single 2-liner test. Guys, if you think my videos are helping you, okay, I request you to pay whatever amount you want to pay in the Paytm. If you cannot pay, just send a text back to me. My aunt is not well. You're praying for my family and my aunt. What a beautiful way to connect with people. A lot of people say that, Uber is not running, salons are closed, hotels are closed. It's all about how you think about making something work for you, okay? In order to just explain few concepts, I'm sharing my screen with all of you, which will help you to see what I'm talking about. I hope all of you are able to see my screen nicely. So, what is design thinking? Well, design thinking is a non-linear, iterative process which seeks to understand users, challenge the assumptions, redefine problems, and create innovative solutions. So what Mustafa today did was that he thought non-linear, salon close and kya karu, iterative process, okay? He thought of a process which seek to understand the users. Everybody's stuck at home, don't know what to do with hair. Okay, somebody's trying something, somebody's trying something. Challenge the assumptions and redefine problems and create innovative solution. Believe me, I've shown that video and forwarded that video along with his text to so many people, and it's really helping them out. So just in quick nutshell, design thinking is a process which is a 5-step process. You start with empathy and you keep on empathizing with people in order to understand what they're going through. Atul Sharma is going through a problem that he has less hair, but still they are unmanageable. Then you define the problem. How can I help Atul? You ideate a solution. You create 3 videos that will help Atul Sharma. You create a prototype out of it. Maybe long videos won't fit it. They are 15 minutes video, guys. So he had to actually scale down the resolution of those videos, test it with few customers and see if they are paying, and then go ahead. So this is the whole design thinking process. Now, we had brand equity model by Keller. I have just created something called a brand re-equity model. The first thing is you have to see whether my brand is compatible with Corona or not. Can we operate? Like in Uber case, it just cannot operate. So what they did, they thought of reaching out to customers that, can you raise funds for our drivers? Okay. So that's the first thing you have to ask yourself. Can we operate? What is the operational level? What is my Corona compatibility? Once you have derived that, then you go to the second segment, which is how do we reach our customers? So for example, I have a friend who's into outbound training, and he said, Atul, I don't know what to do. We were doing outbound training in Rishikesh and Kurnool. Now we don't know what to do. We thought of the solution, and we started doing some of activity-based trainings to different people who are staying at home. Okay, simple things like scissors and all these things are available in everybody's house. So we made a list of 20 things which are available in everybody's house, and they started doing activity-based trainings to people. So we reach out the customers in a different manner. And last but not the least, what Mustafa did was, how may we help you? This is a time where we need to leverage the emotions, keeping in mind that everybody is kind of in a pressure where he's feeling, you know what, how much, you know, till how long? So there's a lot of uncertainty going on. So you have to establish your brand re-equity by saying, how may we help? Okay, a classic example is a friend of mine. Okay, the idea is not mine, but what he did was, he has a kind of a cottage, very nice cottage and houses and all that in Kerala. You know, now nobody is going to hotels what to do. What he started doing was, he started giving virtual tours to people, just to tell them that, see, this is a cottage I have, you know, and would you like to book your cottage, this cottage, for 20, 21, 22, or 23? Whatever amount you want to, whatever days you want to put for, you can just pay me 10% today. And when the economy, whatever economy would be there in 2021, 22, 23, I'll give you 20% discount. He was able to survive his staff. He was able to survive his entire, you know, able to help everybody through by using innovative concept of design thinking. So I think all the brands, even if they are doing well, they need to see, okay, if we are doing well, how can we contribute to the others? Because this is a time of solidarity. This is a time we have to think beyond essentials, non-essentials. You have to think everybody needs to function, be happy, be safe, be secure. This is kind of, I would say, a warning or a wake-up call for the entire humanity to work in tandem with each other and raise our brands, you know, mission statements to such a level where people feel passionate about it. And I believe that if we are able to do that with the help of design thinking, then I think we shall be able to solve every problem. Just the last demonstrative thing, 30 seconds more. This is 1/4 of a page. Okay, I have this 1/4 of a page. If I tell you that I want you to cut this page in such a manner that your hand goes, okay, maybe you will cut it like this first, and then you will cut it like this, okay? But what if I tell you that I want you to cut it in such a manner that your head goes out of the page? Try this out. Pause the video here whenever you see it later and try it and find out. You know, guys, you have to cut it in such a manner that you're able to get a thing like this, okay? And then you have to just trim this thing from the section like this. It just take me 10 seconds to demonstrate. Just hang on with me and you shall be able to see a wonderful, wonderful necklace that I'm wearing for myself. Okay, this is thinking out of the box. You have to be the Mustafas, you have to be the Rajkamals of that place, and you have to be the users wherein you can connect with the users in such a manner that you're still able to get this X, Y, Z axis in such a manner that you're able to redefine your equity. Over to Suman ma'am, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for giving so much nice insights on design thinking. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Gunjan ma'am for delivering vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, Suman. Before moving on to the vote of thanks, I would like to bring out the very important points that I've noticed in the complete conclave, as well as they would be followed by questions. Concept like local to global will really flourish for India. So our Prime Minister, who's been talking about, you know, creating things locally and then taking them globally, would be really very important. Then one thought that came to my mind is, jo dikhta hai wo bikta hai. We've always been talking about it, and I think this is the marketing buzzword which is going to stay for long. Rightly said by one of the speakers that value for customers would be the buzzword. So what is important is not just when we talk about functional and emotional, emotions are going to take away, because mental well-being is one of the most important thing today. Then another thing is your omni-channel, which is going to be operational globally. So it's not just online or offline would be which would be there. Both are going to take a lead in the coming time. then your touch feel factor is not the consumer behavior today, which we have been talking about, that customer is going to buy things until unless he touches it, feels it. But for some time, we'll have to take a halt on this and think about it, that touch and feel is not the action that would be required from customers' end. Diversification is the new mantra for today. So as a marketer, we'll have to look out for new directions, dimensions of establishing a business. Another very important point that I feel for today is operations, again, which has been discussed in the presentation, revamping the complete operations, because we have seen every now and then on the road, we get to see that the migrants are moving back home. So how the products would be manufactured. So revamping the complete operations would be very, very important. Then companies are not only trying to sell products, but will have to move on well-being of customer, which I just said that well-being is very, very important. Consumer behavior in terms of fear will take long time for customers to come out of it, to be normal with their normal and routine buying. So the point that was highlighted by Mr. Saurabh, that he read it somewhere, or he heard someone talking about fear converting into hope. Yes, that is one thing which is very important, and we have to be hopeful about the coming future. These are some of the thoughts as well as the words that I have collated from the presentation that was given by our speakers. I would like to say that, it was an absolute pleasure to hear all of you with your expert knowledge and thoughts. I'm sure the participants would totally agree with me. But one, again, thought for all the speakers that I have is that which strikes my mind, brands that have been skyrocketed in the recent time will have to think about their presence. Or is it that the market customer strategy will be rethought by the brands during post COVID-19? This is just a simple thought which struck me right away. So I thought of, sharing it with you. Now, before moving on to the audience question, I have got some questions that I would like to ask our eminent panelists. First question, I would follow the sequence that we followed in the presentation. So the first question is to Mrinalini. Mrinalini, you carry a global experience. So can you talk a little bit more about comparative behavior of FMCG industry in these time of pandemic? Can you throw a little light on this?
Sure. Thanks, Kunjan. Thanks for the question. Like I said, it's the comparative behavior is the fact that we now have in FMCG 3 types of categories: categories which are winning, categories which are resilient, and categories which will take a hit and will have to be completely revamped. And each of these 3 categories have to be approached very differently. I think various people have said various things as to how we have to do it. There is no right or wrong answer. We will only know with time what's really going to happen. So that is what is there on the comparative. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much. So my next question is to Mr. Arnab Ghosh. What is the way the consumer packaged good, you just talked about CPG industry, especially the consumer part, is likely to change post COVID-19? I would request you to unmute yourself, Mr. Ghosh.
Yeah. So I think, what's going to happen is that mostly in the categories that you operate in, those categories are going to get redefined to a very large extent. I think I hinted upon the fact that, there would be a lot more branding of commodities that are going to happen, because branding brings in an element of trust. There are going to be categories in the health and hygiene space which are becoming more salient and will continue to become more salient going forward. So that's another area which I think is going to be very important. I also, talked about the fact that do-it-yourself categories, which involve the family, which kind of bring the whole family together into some kind of an activity, which at present currently centers around the kitchen and making new dishes, etc. Seeing recipes on YouTube, all of that stuff that's happening today is also going to translate into new categories getting developed, and those categories becoming more salient as time progresses.
Thank you very much for your inputs on this. I would request Mr. Amit Phull to address this question. What should brands do to sail through the COVID virus crisis and emerge out stronger than before?
Yeah, thanks for that question. I feel coming from the marketing space, we generally we like to show our brands as smart brands to the audiences, to the consumers. But I think in today's time, it's instead it's important to make our consumers feel that they are smart rather than only our brands are smart. And I think there are various ways where a lot of brand communication strategies will need to be adopted. Some new strategies will need to be adopted, and we know that we are all in the situation to that the brand should communicate to the consumer in a way that showcases that they are extending their support. Saying that it is not a marketing opportunity to capitalize upon, but and this is not the time to think that how you can sell more, but instead how you can help your consumers during this crisis. I'll just take an example. Being in the education space now, what we are trying to understand, for our consumers over here are our students as well as their parents. We understand the implications that they're facing in terms of payment of fees and things like that. So we have adopted certain strategies internally with our management. We are launching some really useful composite scholarship schemes for the students. We have come up with bank loan facilities at lower rate of interest. We have come up with some installment systems for the students. So all of this, we are trying to communicate in a manner which is demonstrating how we are actually caring for the consumers, and we are going one step higher in terms of giving them the convenience of pursuing their particular education. We have to stay connected, of course, and it might be tempting to go on a cost-cutting mode and conveniently adopt a media silence. But I think this is the time where brands need to stand by their consumers and add value to their lives and earn their trust. And we can constantly do by increasing a lot of our outreach through the digital content, be it through simple as SMS and emailers, to our website, social media, and also again taking an example from our industry, education industry per se, where students spend a lot of time on YouTube, for instance. So we are adopting video marketing also as one of the strategies to communicate our right ideas and the right thoughts that we are trying to adopt at this stage. We all have to adopt a marketing strategy and adjust to that. So building brand credibility should be the priority over sales promotion. I think that will be the way I like to sum it up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Amit. Now I would request Mr. Saurabh to answer this. What innovation changes can we expect in e-commerce post-COVID-19?
I think Dr. Gunjan, I answered this during the session, but I can probably...
You could just probably give a success kind of mantra, because this is going to be very crisp, which would be taken away by the participants, and it would be quite evident for them,
So just 2 points. One is diversification in a complementary product category segment. For example, अगर आप कॉफी बेचते हैं तो आप चाय बेचना शुरू कर दीजिए, या कॉफी बेचते हैं तो बॉर्नवीटा बेचना शुरू कर दीजिए. So this is diversification in the complementary as well as an essential. अगर आप non essential category में हैं तो कुछ essential में आ जाइए. And the other thing is try to develop or deliver a personalized experience to the customer, because इस time पे बहुत limited choice है customer के पास. So whoever the person, the winner would be the person who will have an edge over customization and the personalized feeling, because price wise all of them are same, but जो better customized or personalized experience दे देगा, he'll come out as a winner. For example, I'll talk about Clear Dekho, which is my company. So हम चश्मा बेचते हैं, तो all our retail stores are not open. We are opening few stores only. But now what we are trying to do is we are trying to go home and test the eyes for the patient and then sell chashma to them. So this is something what we are trying to innovate as a retail brand. because chashma is not an online product. आप online eye testing नहीं कर सकते. You have to visit a doctor, you have to visit an optical store for that. However, we are taking eye testing equipments at home and doing that. So this is how we would like to innovate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now over to you, Mr. Atul Sharma. Before that, I would like to say that very, very interesting. You know, I would request you to pass on that Mustafa, probably because everyone is looking out for haircuts. They, it would be a great help to everyone, and I'm sure people would like to Paytm him the amount for it. Going beyond it, a question that over to you is, how do you think we can spread the know-how or design thinking to the various brands?
I think we need to start getting pizza in a round box. Okay, once we start getting that you know, yes, we can have round pizzas. One of the interesting things that I noted from Saurabh's this thing is when he said that we can't test eyes at home, and design thinking works from those paradigms. Why can't we test eyes at home? So we have focus group meetings and everything. Okay, to how to go about this is, I think the first is that we have about 145 participants, including me, in this session. I think you need to pledge that I want to be a brand ambassador for design thinking. Now you can simply go to YouTube and watch a very cute video of 4.5 minutes, or there is a free course by IDEO or Acumen. You can do that. Okay, these are free courses. You can do that. Once you start studying, you would imagine you would like to try it out with your kids, with your wife, with your husband, with your boss, with your girlfriend. You would like to try design thinking even with your sabji wala. You know, once you study and once you try, you generate an experience out of it. And all brands need to get into the habit of generating experiences. Once you generate a positive experience, you got to tell it to other people and teach it. You know, tell others how it helped you, how it helped your life, you know. And I think that's the best way for every brand to start thinking from the design thinking perspective. And I think our brands would be more empathic, more humane, and I think Greta would be a little happy.
Thank you very much. Now, before closing it, I just want each of the speaker who's here, the panelist, because we have students here as participants. So they would like to know 2 skills from your side that they should enhance at this point of time. So Mrinalini, if you could just talk about 2 skills which are very important for the students to enhance themselves at this point of time.
Yeah, sure. I think I can, so 2 skills. Let me just share with you the 2 skills I'm trying to enhance. The first skill is the skill of dancing to uncertainty. It is uncertain times, and it's how you want to look at it. So you can either do a dance or you can sulk about it. So let's learn how to dance to uncertainty, clearly. That's one. And the second skill that I'm picking up is the skill on, saying no. I'm very busy. I can't talk to you. The hierarchies, you are too senior, I'm too junior. We are here today. I don't know from which parts of the countries we are. We're all together. We are all talking. Everyone has time, and we are all the same. So dancing to uncertainty and never saying I have no time. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ghosh. Can you just unmute Mr. Ghosh?
Okay, sorry. So 2 things I think which are going to be important from a student's perspective is the ability to understand data and interpret data. Because going forward, there would be a lot of cross-tabulation of data that would be required. So that's one skill which I think students should try and pick up. And the other thing that I think is important is the ability to pick up observational skills. Because when uncertainty happens, then a lot of changes happen. These are societal changes, these are changes which happen beneath the surface. So an ability to interpret these changes, mostly ethnographic changes, observational skills which lead to insights. So those are the kind of skill sets that I think people should try and pick up.
Thank you. Mr. Phull?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've always followed 2 skills, and I feel that they're most relevant in today's time. These are basic skills to develop more passion and more patience. I think these two skills are required even more in today's time because we are seeing a lot of unprecedented changes. And students, if they develop patience at this time and take a step back to enhance their overall learning, I think that'll do a great work for them. And passion to look at some new skills, passion to look at some new out of the box ideas and develop their skills further on that.
Thank you. Mr. Dayal?
I think I don't have two skills to give you. I think there is only one skill which I am trying to gain, which is to gain knowledge. And I think there are a lot of platforms can enhance a lot of skills, be it academics, social media, business, communication. A lot of things are available. So I'm doing two things. One is I'm watching Mahabharata from a business management point of view. So whatever Mr. Vidur is saying, वो एक चीज is ज्ञान है, and we can relate to the MBA what all of us would have done in the business. And the second, what I'm doing, I started making, so since I have a retail, we are a retail organization, retail and e-commerce, so I have around 100 retail staff. So I started making sales videos for them, so that post lockdown sales is the only thing which would matter, because all of us know that the revenues have been hit at the moment, especially for retail organization, and revenue is of essence post COVID. So I'm trying to make sales videos for my team, and initially I started with WhatsApping them, पर उसके बाद then I made a 5-minute video on camera, तो वो 500 MB का हो गया. I didn't have a choice. I uploaded it on YouTube and people started liking it. So I have posted over 20 videos in past 1 month on sales. So this is what I am trying to do, learning YouTube skills.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sharma?
Okay, so I have 3 skills, not 2, okay, since I'm the last one. And you have to fight the coronavirus like this with these 3 skills. And the skills are easy to remember, LEE or LE square. L stands for leadership. They have to assume leadership, okay? You would have stories to tell your kids, in the corona era, I was there. So you have to assume leadership, So bhagya hai hamara ki hum corona mein bhi dekh rahe hain. So that is one thing. Second thing is they need to develop empathy. This complaint from the Gen QPTP कि आजकल के बच्चे सुनते नहीं हैं, आजकल के बच्चे ये, they need to maybe empathize with their mothers, fathers, teachers, professors, and all that. That is something that will really help them. And last is active experimentation. Like Saurabh said, just go ahead, learn YouTube, put it on there, and learn YouTube skills, make videos, share your knowledge. A healthy experimentation really leads to so much of innovation. There is a book called Jugaad Innovation. If I can suggest that to all the 141 people out here, it will give you so much of ideas of how you can go about assuming leadership, empathy. Empathy is all about looking at, okay, there is a problem. Okay, Saurabh has a problem that he can't test eyes at home. Can I give him a solution? Okay, fine. And the last one is experimentation. Maybe I'll develop a software that you have to stand 2 meters away from your laptop. If your laptop is Dell, then use this. If your laptop is Lenovo, use this. And then you shall be able to see how much are you able to read. This will give you at least 50% clarity on what is your eyesight. And then you can call up. So at least means I'm just assuming a prototype, how would it go? So this is LE square is my mantra to the youth.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
I'm sure our students are going to really learn and enhance themselves during this COVID, wherein they have got a lot of time to work on themselves. So let's come to the end of, we've come actually to the end of the conclave. So it's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks in the International Marketing Conclave. I, Dr. Gunjan Rana, Area Chair Marketing, on behalf of Sushant School of Business, Ansal University, would extend a deepest gratitude to all the esteemed speakers Ms. Mrinalini Mankotia, Mr. Arnab Ghosh, Mr. Atul Sharma, Mr. Saurabh Dayal, and Mr. Amit Phull, who grace the conclave with their presence and valuable time of their busy schedule. The discussion at this platform has given food for thought to the participant to think in different dimensions of brand with opportunities and challenges that will be faced and recovered in the coming times. I also wish to express my gratitude to our Vice Chancellor, Dr. D.N.S. Kumar, for providing an opportunity to organize this conclave. I thank Dr. J.N. Giri, Dean SSB, for providing encouragement and support. I am very grateful to the organizing committee, Dr. Atul Kumar Agarwal, Dr. Pooja Rastogi, Professor Suman Dhaya, Dr. Naveen Nandal, and Professor Kirti Mankotia to make it possible during challenging time. As no program can become successful with a single person, so I extend my big thanks to our faculty members, IT department, and our marketing team for their support for making this event successful with their contribution. Finally, I would like to thank the wonderful audience for being part of this event. Thank you very much, everyone.
Hi, Gunjan ma'am. I have to say thanks to you also for hosting everything so nicely and organizing everything so seamlessly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gunjan. It's been a wonderful session, and thank you for all the effort that you've taken to make this so successful.
Really appreciate. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Yes, guys, it was really nice. All the best to Ansal.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you so much for everyone.